Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it is for you. We're so happy you're here. We're going to give it a few moments, let our families settle in, but we're glad that you're with us. All right. Hi, everyone. Hello, parents and family of the class of 2028. That's a crazy number for us, and we are so excited to have you here. This is our parent and family orientation, one of our webinar series for this summer. And it's all about security and support in the Duke campus community. So excited to talk about with many of our campus partners on the screen here today on different ways to support your student as they prepare to move in a very short amount of time, just a couple days, and they'll be on campus. So we can't wait. A couple housekeeping before we get started. The Q&A is live, so go ahead, feel free to put your questions in there. Some responses we may type, some responses we might answer live. So as always, we'll have a Q&A at the end, and we'd love to make sure that your questions get answered. The chat has been disabled, so there's no need to use that. Put all your questions in the Q&A. And then as a reminder, this webinar is being recorded. So if you're watching this recording sometime in the future, hello, we're also glad that you're here too. We have a few more orientations for our families coming up. So tomorrow we have our Trinity family meeting. If you're a student or a family member of a Pratt student, that webinar already happened last week. So the recording is on our website. Feel free to take a look at that. So this coming Thursday is for families of Trinity students, which is our arts and science department. We then have our last orientation for our families next Monday, and that is all about move-in. So getting all your questions answered, going through the move-in process. It's by far my favorite day on campus, and I know a lot of folks on the call and at Duke's favorite day too. It's just such a great time. So we're looking forward to giving you information and making sure that you feel prepared for that day. But on to what we're actually here to talk about today, which is campus safety and how we are going to support your student throughout their 4 years at Duke. So as you can see on the screen, we have 4 offices here with us tonight. I'm going to read off each one and let them introduce themselves, a little bit about what their office does and how they provide support to your student. And then we have some fireside chat questions that we'll dive into, and then we'll get to your questions at the end. So we're going to start with Duke Police.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Pruka with Duke Police Department. I've been with the department for 11 years. I'm originally from Minnesota and moved here, 12 years ago now. But loved every minute of it. It's definitely nice being out here and being part of the Duke community, or what we all call it is the Duke family. One thing or a couple of things that I do within our department is I'm part of our community resource office. So I'm involved with some educational training for the Duke community for both faculty, staff, as well as the students. And I've worked with just about everybody on this panel to make sure that whenever a student approaches our office about certain safety questions, or if they're looking for a certain resource, I can help direct them to the right area or department to speak to someone. But we are definitely here for the overall safety of campus, and I'm looking forward to this meeting with everyone. So thanks again. I'm going to pass it off to Captain Greg Stotzenberg.
Hey everyone, Captain Greg Stotzenberg. I've been at Duke Police for 26 years, and I'm currently in the role of over our investigations department and our crime prevention. So I work really closely with Aaron and some other officers with our crime prevention and community policing. So glad you're here. Look forward to talking with folks.
Wonderful. Next, we have our friends in DukeReach.
Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria Krebs. I have been at Duke for 10 years in the Dean of Students office, and I'm representing DukeReach, which is our non-clinical case management office, originally from New York, and we can't wait till your students arrive, 17 days.
Thank you for having the number. Oh, that makes it really real. All right, our friends in student conduct and community standards.
Hi there. Good evening, everyone. My name is Latasha Williams. I'm one of the associate deans on campus and the director for the Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards. And so our office basically reviews any incoming reports related to potential policy violations on campus of any of Duke's policies. That can be academic policies, non-academic policies. It can be sexual misconduct policies. And we are a part of a group of folks that respond to those incidents and addresses those concerns with students. We appreciate being here this evening and excited to have a conversation with you all about supporting our students in their safety.
Thanks, Tasha. And then finally, our crisis response.
Perfect. Thanks, Karina. My name is Justin Sharp. I serve as the Associate Dean of Students and Director of Crisis Response and Risk Mitigation. I've been at Duke for about 7 years now, and I direct a newer unit on campus that was birthed out of the COVID-19 pandemic to act as a cross-functional unit that works hand in hand with every single person that you're seeing on the screen right now. I am born and bred and have lived in North Carolina my entire life. And I'll pass it back to Karina.
Wonderful. So we have some experts who have been here and who know what they're doing on campus. So let's dive into it a little bit more. So we often talk at Duke about taking a team approach or a holistic approach to student safety and support. So can you each explain in greater detail about how your office or your role works with other units on campus to support student safety?
I'll go first. So again, with the Duke Police Department, we get calls often, usually have to deal with someone in crisis of some sort. Our first overall approach when it comes to the police department is overall safety for that individual. We're not here to punish anybody. We're not here to look to see what type of law they're violating. That's not our role here. Our role is really support and safety for the students. And we work with the groups here on this meeting to make sure that we're offering the right resource to fit that individual and the situation that they are experiencing at that time. Our officers are very well trained when it comes to de-escalation of a situation. We also go through crisis intervention training, and that training allows us to identify, first of all, the individual who is in that crisis, what kind of crisis they might be going through, and then what type of resource we can offer that individual. And like I said, I've worked with the people on this panel to make sure that we are offering that right resource to fit that individual. So we really work hard to make sure that that individual is receiving that resource, and we try to follow through as best we can with everyone here to have the best safety plan to fit that individual overall.
I can respond on behalf of the Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards. We have a unique role on campus because most of the time when we're interacting with students because something has happened or after something has happened. And so one of the things that we do in our conversations with students, we approach it really as an educational intervention. And so students can come to us, for example, if they may have violated a policy around underage drinking. And when they come to our office, we have to make some decisions, ask some questions, and make some decisions about if that student is responsible for violating an alcohol policy are not responsible. And a part of that work is taking an educational lens, helping the student really explore what decisions did they make or fail to make in that incident, and then helping the students explore and reflect on what put them in those circumstances to make the decisions that they do. And so this reflective conversation that students have with us is one of the ways that we support and educate students to be thoughtful about their behavior and decision making on campus, and to really examine what the root cause of that behavior is. So this is my maybe 7th or 8th year working in student conduct specifically. And what I found is that most cases, there's usually some particular need that is at the root of the behaviors that we see in student conduct. So for example, when we see academic dishonesty happening, cheating or plagiarism, there's usually at the root of that a desire for that student to perform well, and maybe some performance anxiety. There may be a student struggling with managing time. And so when students come to talk with us about being held accountable for their actions and decisions, we make sure that we delve into what is the root cause. If there's alcohol consumption in social environments, is it just peer pressure, or is there some coping skills that students are seeking out alcohol as a stress reliever? And so the ways that we support student safety is really to challenge students to think deeply about their behaviors and decisions. And then we refer them to on-campus experts such as Do Well, that is our office that deals with alcohol and substance use. We refer students to the Academic Resource Center to help them think about how to be good students, how to prepare for exams. And so we really see our role as an educational intervention, and then referring and connecting that student to the resources they need to be successful.
I can jump in here. So as I mentioned previously, so the portfolio that I oversee operates on a cross-functional premise, and it integrates a lot of various departments to ensure that what we're doing and how we're delivering it, oftentimes behind the scenes, that it's comprehensive support for student well-being and campus safety altogether. So my background being in public health, I look at this, both well-being and safety, through both an environmental and an individual strategy. And some of the pieces that fall into that as a part of intervention pieces and things that you ought to know that are going on behind the scenes is that we have a 24/7 crisis response team called the Dean on Call, or Student Affairs on Call, that operates on weekends, nights, holidays, in a rotational basis of most of the deans that serve in the Dean of Students office. I coordinate a threat assessment team alongside Duke Police. I coordinate emergency management functions for student affairs as it relates to weather. We're prone to hurricanes in North Carolina based on our approximate geography. So we're working with Housing and Residence Life to ensure proper support and critical functioning to ensure that basic needs are being met in case of, let's say, a power outage. And then I also support critical events. I've started to adopt this term because there's a lot of different variations of what critical events can be on our campus. So oftentimes these are tied to our awesome traditions that we have, like bonfires, burning benches after we beat Carolina, both for the men's and women's or potential national championship. We've got our sights on 6 again this year. We do concerts, we do tailgating, a lot of athletic events. When we beat Clemson last year and we rushed the field, we had preparations in place to ensure the safety of the students that are celebrating. Last day of classes, culminating with commencement at the end of the 4 years and ensuring safety through that aspect as well. So again, we continue to forge in this area because it is new. Spring of 2023 was the first time that the unit exists, but the functionality in the portfolio has existed for a number of years, and there's a good foundation that I'm just forging forward and pushing forward and extending our influence across campus to continue to ensure the health and safety of a variety of events that your students will be attending this fall.
And
I just want to, oh, go ahead, Victoria, go ahead.
No, you go, Stotts.
Well, I was going to say, I just wanted to piggyback off of what Justin's saying. First of all, we're very thankful that Justin's here and helping coordinate it, all these things. But everybody on some point or another, we're working together. In Tori's office, we're meeting with a student together. Tasha and I are reviewing cases, and there was something in the Q&A about like, what do we investigate? And so just to add to what Justin is saying is Duke Police is 24/7. We've got our own communications around the clock. We've got officers patrolling on bike, in vehicles, on east and west, as well as in the hospital. And we're constantly coordinating our responses with student affairs, student conduct, you know, a lot of lower offenses, underage alcohol, a small amount of marijuana, still illegal in North Carolina. We're not charging. We're going ahead and documenting and referring to student conduct, and then they take the ball, unless there's something, you know, out of the ordinary, right? Someone's dealing drugs, something bigger, which is rare. One of the questions was, what's kind of crimes do we investigate? Well, Duke is our city, and so that's our jurisdiction. We're fully commissioned law enforcement with the same commission as any other state or city agency, and we're investigating everything from misdemeanor small crimes up to more serious type of cases. But if you look at our crime stats on our website, our annual report, you'll see that most crimes are involving property left unattended, laptops in the library, cell phones left for a moment when they go to the bathroom, and they're just picked up. And so that's most of our crimes is theft. But we're here to support victims of violence. We're here to assess threats, and we're doing that as a joint partnership with other partners on campus.
I guess I'll jump in with DukeReach to say that just listening to my colleagues talk about this, it sounds like a lot going on. I wish I could see some family faces. But you can think of DukeReach as sort of the glue or an office that you could call if you don't know where to send your student, or if your student is struggling with something and they need help. That we have many, many resources on campus for students. And sometimes just navigating those resources is overwhelming and they don't know where to go. And DukeReach is a great place for that. The email address is dukereach@duke.edu. If you have a concern about your student that you want someone to know about, you should feel free to do that. If it's an emergency, you should call the police. But if it's something that, you know, can be handled in a day, you should feel free to reach out to DukeReach. Our office is located on East Campus, where you all will be moving in 17 days. So that's really easy for first-year students. We also have a satellite office on West Campus in the Wellness Building, so we're really accessible to students. And when someone has a concern, either about themselves or about another student, they fill out a DukeReach report on the website. If you just search just DukeReach, actually, it would come up to submit a report. And you all are free to do that too if you're concerned about your student and they need some help with anything, with struggling with mental health, struggling with if there's something going on at home you think we should know about. If they're struggling academically, we can provide all kinds of support that way. Oh, and Torian, my colleague, joined the Zoom. We had a little technical difficulty. Torian, you want to introduce yourself?
All right, salutations and happy Wednesday to all your lovely faces, and yes, salutations to you all. I'm Torian. I'm a newer member to the DukeReach team. Looking forward to working with you all as you attend and, you know, join us on campus here soon. Thank you, Victoria.
Yay. Thank you, everyone. The next question we have is, what sort of messaging do you share with students about their well-being and safety while they're on campus? So what kind of messaging, how do students know about your resources?
I'll go first for DukeReach. So information about DukeReach is covered during orientation for your students. RAs get trained by DukeReach and what services we provide. There's signage up places. Our website has a lot of information. We do trainings like this one, and it's a pretty well-known office that upper class students certainly can share with first-year students about a place to go for support.
And I'll share on behalf of the conduct office. We have a few touch points, both with incoming students. In fact, one of my colleagues, Assistant Dean Aaron Lash Jr., was with your first year students just yesterday. And then I'm here today with you all. And so in those sessions with students and in our fall campus newsletter to students, we promote awareness of the Duke Community Standard. And the Duke Community Standard is just our overall expectations for students as it relates to their time on campus and being members of our community. And so usually what we share with students is that we want them to, and this is a hashtag, right, for all our Gen Zers, to hold high the standard. And when we talk about hold high the standard, we're talking about the Duke Community Standard, that set of expectations and policies that we have for students. And so we let them know that we are expecting, though that they are bright and brilliant, we are also expecting them to make really good decisions related to their behavior and conduct, both in the classroom, out of the classroom. The other tidbit that I like to share with students is that you have got to come to college, any college, whether it's Duke or otherwise, with a game plan. And what do I mean by game plan? I mean having a real conversation, and you parents might want to sit your student down and have this conversation. Having a real conversation with students about their expectations and how they are going to engage in the social college environment that is Duke University. There's a group that does research on college student behaviors. It's called the American College Health Association. And every year they put out an assessment, and maybe I'll share this link with Karina so that you all can see this. But every year they do an assessment and they ask college students to report about what behaviors that they're engaged in. And this group basically shares that 60%, around 60% of students are going to engage in alcohol consumption when they get to college. And specifically around 60%, it's anywhere from 50 to 60, depending on if they're male, female, transgender, or gender non-binary. But 60%, that's over half. So maybe not your student, but the student of the parent that's sitting next to you, right? So 60% of our students are going to be engaging in substance use of some sort, specifically alcohol. And so the game plan that students have around if they are going to consume alcohol in a college environment, whether they're underage or overage, how many drinks are they going to consume before they go out nightly? Do they have an accountability partner, an AP, someone that's going to say, hey, you're on your second drink, you're cut off for the rest of the night? And what this group has said is that when students make a commitment to establish clear expectations and clear boundaries, and this exists for substance use, as well as healthy relationships, right? When they're engaging with romantic interest. If they sit down and have the conversation about what their limits and boundaries are, they are more likely to stick with them. And so the other note that I give students is know what the Duke Community Standard says, but then sit down and have a conversation with your parents, with your friends about what your expectations, your boundaries, and your limits will be, because you will be more likely to make decisions in alignment with that if you set that predetermined expectation at the onset.
I will piggyback off of Latasha about the student conduct or community standard. It is really, really important to view or go over that student handbook. It's something that commonly gets overlooked. And I know when students are coming to campus for their first time, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of information to take in, but definitely check out that student handbook. Read through it, skim through it. There's a lot of great information, a lot of great resources as well. One resource I will point out is the Live Safe app, which is a free app to download, and parents at home, you can download this app as well. It's a great resource. When you link it up to Duke University, it provides a lot of Duke resources for the students, such as the contacts for everyone on this panel, contacts for certain departments, contacts for the bus services. So it's important to have the bus services, have the van services that are available for the students to navigate throughout campus or navigate during those late night hours. We have a free service available to them so they can get that ride and get home safely throughout campus. There's a safe walk portion on there as well. So that safe walk portion, what they can do is they can send an invite to you. So say you have the Live Safe app on your phone as well. They can invite you, the parent, to watch them through the app to make sure that they make it to their destination safely. So you can monitor their travels during times, especially late at night. So it's a great resource to have, and again, a free resource. But there's another option on there as well where they can call or text the Duke Police Department through the app. There are situations where students might not be able to make a phone call, especially if they are feeling uncomfortable or unsafe in certain ways or in certain situations. But a lot of people carry their phones, especially students. They'll carry their phones in their hands, or they're typing or on social media of some sort. So through that app, through a few quick clicks, they can contact Duke Police, and it is very responsive. Somebody is always on the other end to respond back through either text message or phone call. And again, there's multiple other resources available that Duke offers, and it should all be in the student handbook. So it is a great resource for the students, and definitely something that they should view and go over from time to time, and definitely keep with them.
To co-op Tasha's words of have a game plan, and then the theme that Aaron was talking about of just preparedness, that's what I would share. Emergencies on our campus occur in a continuum, but just proper preparation is going to be essential with any type of emergency. So looking through some of the resources that we have, that's one of the best things I think about Duke. We are resource rich. As Victoria mentioned previously, oftentimes it's kind of nauseating trying to navigate through all the resources because we have so many, but they're there for a reason, and they're there to be utilized. One of the websites that I'll direct you to, and I see Veronica in the chat talking about procedures as it relates to a hurricane, but prepare.duke.edu is our emergency management website. This will take you to the landing page where Aaron was talking about Live Safe as well, but it goes through a lot of our emergency operations kind of preparedness, prevention plans of what we would do. And for Veronica's question, yes, there will be procedures in the event of a hurricane or any other kind of inclement event. Communication is utmost importance with our students to make sure they know exactly where to go, how they're being impacted, and what to do, and how to navigate the current situation until it's safe to move back into normal operating functions. So again, that prepare.duke.edu is that emergency management resource. And there's a variety of different trainings that you can look through on there. But yeah, I'll highlight Live Safe once again. And that's how you as Duke community members, extended Duke community members are made aware of certain events on campus as well.
Wonderful. Before we kind of turn it over to our families' questions, and this is a plug for families, keep putting the questions in. We're going to answer them live. If you have the question, chances are someone else on the call has the question too, so feel free to submit them. Just as a general to our campus partners, what do you want family members to know?
So for the Duke Police Department, I know I've already mentioned this, but I really want to stress that we are not here to try to catch somebody doing something bad that might be against the law. We are really here for that safety and help build that community and build that relationship and make sure that the students are maintaining their education throughout campus. If we ever deal with students from time to time, again, to make sure they're safe, but then to educate them and then make sure that they're getting the resource that's available to them. That is our something that we stress with all of our officers out on campus. And part of what my office does is to make sure that we're building that relationship with the students. So we'll do one of the first things that we'll do through orientation week is we'll have a grill out where the students can just come, get some free food, ask us questions, and get to know us. And we'll also be sharing information about our department. We really enjoy being a part of this community, part of the Duke family. Again, I'm going to say that because that is really important. Duke is safe overall, and the reason why is because everyone works together to maintain that safety and security here on campus. By doing that, it really makes our job easier. And I've been here 11 years. I don't plan on going anywhere else because I love it here too much. And that reason is because of everyone here, especially on this panel, that helps make that experience great. And I believe your students are gonna, or your children are also gonna have that great experience here on campus.
Thanks, Aaron. Very well said. Duke is a special place, and I'm sure that parents, you working with your students to even apply and research Duke, know that already. And I just want to confirm and reiterate that now that your students are enrolling, we really see in our office our relationship with parents as a partnership. And so if there's anything to leave with parents and families, is that the Dean of Students office at Duke is partnering with you to make sure that your students are safe, that they're successful, that 4 years from now, they will be that Duke graduate that you're sending them here to be. The second thing I'll say is do not underestimate the game plan. And I know that there are various dynamics of relationships students may have with their parents. But to the extent that you have that rapport with your student, have that conversation with them about how they're going to keep on top of their assignments and complete assignments with integrity without using ChatGPT or plagiarizing or cheating. Talk with them about what they're going to do if they have a crush. How they might talk with that person if they're going to go out on dates, what types of boundaries are they going to set? If they're going out in the city of Durham, if they're going to parties, what are they going to do to monitor their substance intake, whether it's alcohol or cannabis? Are they going to be abstinent, or are they going to create some expectations and boundaries around what they might engage in? And we would rather our students be prepared and talk about that with you all than not have that conversation and then not be prepared to make those decisions. So keep that in mind. fine. Aaron and Stotts and Justin have already talked with you all about DUPD being accessible 24/7, and the Dean on Call is also another resource for parents and parents and students, anyone within the Duke community. And so just want you all to know that if there's ever anything that you're concerned about, that you can use those resources in case of emergency. And then you can use our reports, whether it's a DukeReach report or a conduct report, if you have concerns related to your student or your student being the victim or impacted by another student's behavior. We want to know about that because we want to be able to address it. And I think that's all for me.
I wanted to go ahead and answer one of the questions coming up in the Q&A, talking about campus-wide emergencies and how do you let people know. So I don't think we've talked about this yet. We kind of touched on the Duke emergency website. If you go to that website, and I think it's already been listed in chat, you can sign up for what's called Duke Alerts. And it can come in through text, email, and if there's ever a major emergency on campus, we'll be sending out those text alerts. And it'll depend on if we're talking something small, like Justin mentioned, not small, but a concern like with weather versus an active shooter type situation. Fortunately, there's what we are trying to do at Duke, Justin mentioned it briefly, is look at behaviors before we even get to that point. And so we're have a team that's trained with national standards for assessing dangerous or threatening behavior. And then we're trying to manage those behaviors by getting resources, setting up boundaries, safety planning. And so we've done a lot of really good work at Duke around these issues around being prepared. And then in addition to that, our officers are all trained for national standards for responding to those type of emergencies, and partner with many other agencies in the area if something really horrible did happen. And so we have a lot of good standards, a lot of good training, and a lot of good resources pre-prepared and set up for those kind of concerns.
And I think for me, I don't think there's anything new. I'll just reemphasize that preparedness is going to be key, especially in a new environment. And just encourage your child to access resources both proactively and in times of need.
All right, and could I add something too? I think kind of like more so, I guess, on a personal level, if we're thinking about maybe something that I think that you all need to know. I have worked in higher ed for 15 years. I've worked across 6 institutions. Don't ask any questions, but I think something that is probably just on like a more basic level that I think that is helpful for parents and students. And I like how you were saying, Latasha, and thinking about a game plan. I think thinking about your communication plan from student to parent and what that looks like once you step on campus. I've had it in my experience that students get on campus and they're like, I'm busy. My mom keeps calling me. I just don't have time to talk to her. And, while I understand that, I always encourage students, I'm like, okay, if you have Tuesdays and Thursdays, you have 15 minutes, you walk from one class to the next class, make mom a brick in your schedule. Literally, mom is a brick. I'm calling you at 9:45 Eastern Standard Time on, Tuesdays and Thursdays so we can kind of have a quick check-in or whatever the case may be. Because I think the big thing is that it's a big deal to come to Duke. We already know that, right? But, parents, students, have definitely all been, parents have been a part, and well, not just parents, but parents, guardians, sisters, brothers, whoever the case may be. They have been a part of this journey to get you here. And essentially, they want to continue to be a part of that. So I would encourage you to think about what that communication plan is. Because students, hey, you know your parent. If you have a I want to talk to you every day type of parent, you already know that, right? So think about what that plan is going to be when you get here. And I just think it's important to kind of tame those expectations because some students get to college, they're a text a week type of student. Some students get here, they talk to their parents every day. So figure out what that communication plan is so that there are no hurt feelings.
So I'll answer a question in the chat that came up around notification. So the Duke alerts, the notification push to what I know to be true is specifically through the Live Safe app. Aaron and Stotts, can y'all confirm that for me? And on the website,
Yes.
if a public Duke alert went out, it would be on the homepage of duke.edu.
Yeah, so in order for parents to actually receive the alerts, it would be through the Live Safe app. I see there was a question in the chat about Live Safe app. Again, it's a free app to download. Once you download it, you'll need to link it up to Duke University. So there's an option in there to select which university. And Duke University is what you're going to want to select in order to receive those services or those resources from Duke and those alerts. Multiple universities use this app. So again, select Duke University to get our resources. If there is an alert, the way that the public can see that is through the website itself. But for parents to receive those alerts will be through Live Safe. And yes, I highly suggest the students to download that app on their phone so they can have that information as well. But also for them to sign up for the alerts to make sure that they are receiving it multiple different ways if they can. But that is the best way for the parents to receive those alerts is through the Live Safe app. And it also mentions in Google Play, yes, Google Play, Samsung, or Apple phones, all those devices can download the app for free.
I see someone said they were having trouble finding it. The icon is a white square with a blue triangle and a blue square with maybe a little person in it. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. Let's see. Can't quite get it up. Yeah. White square with the blue triangle. There's also a question about emergency situations or handled on campus, such as an active shooter. Our office, we train in this every year to make sure that we have that proper response and quick response to any situation. But part of what my department does with our department is we offer that training throughout campus. So we'll meet with groups and we have this discussion with just about every single department on campus. To include, we'll also meet with the RAs and RCs, and sometimes the dorms themselves, wherever the students are living. We'll have meetings within their dorms to have some type of safety discussion for on and off campus safety tips. So that the situation or the information about armed intruder or active shooter type of situation is covered fairly often to make sure that that information is out there, available, and people are understanding what to do if a situation is to occur. It's also, if you're interested in what those steps are, it's also on our emergency management website. Under Be Prepared, there's an armed intruder or an active shooter list on there of kind of the steps that we follow. There are general steps on there, but when we have the meetings on campus, we go more in depth with the situation. Whenever I meet with the departments on campus, we also do security assessments of that area, that building, the classrooms with the departments here on campus to make sure that, again, everyone's aware of what their safety steps are if a situation is to occur.
We have some general questions that I'm kind of umbrellaing under the term of like, what is the role of the RA or the resident assistant in terms of emergencies? So we had some questions around like, how can the RA be helpful in these situations? And then some other questions around like, is there a curfew? Do RAs check in on students nightly? Could someone maybe navigate those kind of answers?
Yeah. Yes, thanks for that question. So I am again in student conduct, but we work closely with our housing and residence life team related to student concerns in the residence halls. So I can share with you that there is no curfew in the residence halls for first year students once they get to Duke. However, there is an on-call and an emergency response system that occurs in the residence halls. There is always a resident assistant, a student staff member on call, a professional staff member on call, and it goes all the way up to a dean on call. And the student staff members, the resident assistants, actually complete nightly they call them rounds. So if you think about officers patrolling, the RAs are doing rounds in the residence halls. So there's not necessarily an attendance check sheet to say this person is here, this person is not here. But the staff are trained and have protocol for conducting rounds to ensure that the community is safe. If there is anything that's occurring in that community that might be a violation or a concern, those RAs are trained on how to address that, whether it's a policy violation, facilities emergency, or if they need to call up or out to DUPD or the professional staff member on call. And related to attendance or students not being in their room, if there is ever concern, right? If you get one of the students that Torian is talking about who maybe hasn't texted or called in a couple of days, we encourage you to use the on-call system. And we may be unable for various reasons to say, yes, your student is here or they were in the library. But usually there's someone on staff that can verify we've reached the student and we've asked the student to get in contact with you. So if you ever have a concern about a student you haven't heard from or a missing student, the on-call system, calling DUPD, are great places to start. And then depending on the circumstances, there are staff here that would respond to that matter.
I just would add, you're free to email DukeReach about that, and just also try to remember that all of this is new for your students also, and it's very likely that it's good news if they're not calling you, as hard as that is, but you don't want them in their room calling you every night. That's not why they're here. And I mean, maybe to check in, whatever your arrangement is, but we make lots of TAP students and say, call your parents, they're worried about you, and they're, almost always doing great things and having a good time.
Thank you. We have a question about sexual assault on campus. Can some folks speak to how reports are handled and supported?
Take that. We have a policy on campus called the Policy on Prohibited Discrimination, Harassment, and Related Misconduct. Policy is about to be relaunched tomorrow based on regulations from the federal government. So there'll be some changes, but it's on the Office for Institutional Equity's website. And we take sexual misconduct allegations very seriously. The first priority is to reach out to the complainant, the person who filed the report or experienced the misconduct, to be sure that they're aware of all of their many, many resources for support. We have confidential resources by way of counseling. There's a counselor at CAPS who's specifically designated to work with people who've reported sexual misconduct, sexual harassment, stalking. In terms of trauma counseling, our dean on call is trained to help with that. And people have an option to seek supportive measures, counseling, academic accommodations, help, whatever they need to cope with the current situation, and have an option to report either and or through the policy on campus or criminally through Duke Police. If it happened on campus or Durham Police or whatever relevant police there is. But getting support and options to the student is our primary focus, and we have a really good system in place for doing that.
To add to that, me and Victoria have worked together. These type of cases can go through the institutional equity and through conduct, or they can go criminally, or both. And we're always available. We have a number of investigators who are specialized trained for investigating sexual assault. Fortunately, we have very few stranger sexual assaults. They're usually involving acquaintance rape, involving alcohol and consent. Why it's so important we get our guys like conduct and residential life and crime prevention out there, having those discussions about how alcohol can affect your judgment, it can affect your memory, and make you very vulnerable. It's the most used drug involving sexual assault, even today. But if we ever do have a case that does go criminal, we're doing the same thing. We're getting the victim options. We work real closely with the SANE nurses at the hospital. We work with the victim advocates, and then it's the victim's choice on whatever they want to do. And if they do want to go forward criminally, we have a lot of resources and support we can do and attempt to get prosecution as well. But fortunately, it's mostly handled through Victoria and some of the other offices, and they find some really good resource options that way as well.
There's a question about what kind of conversations or resources do these students get about safety on campus during orientation? So I'm happy to answer that very briefly, but the answer is yes. The RAs have a floor meeting with students their first night on the 17th to kind of go over some of this preliminary information, especially around how to get in contact with someone in the dorms, the RA on call system, if they have an emergency. And that can look like, hey, I'm locked out and I need, my door opened, all the way to I'm worried about myself or a friend or a roommate, and how do I get help for them? And sometimes they might not be the best person to, have a solution, but they know who to contact. And it's likely folks on this call who are with us here. Our upper class students who are orientation leaders are also going to share this information. And it's a common conversation that's had throughout a week as you're getting your feet on your ground, just to know what resources are available to you and how our students support each other. There's a culture of that at Duke. It's you hear the terms, to be DukeReach, or these kind of conversations of students supporting students and wanting to make sure that they have the resources that they need.
I just had another thought about that. If your student doesn't call home thing, that's another great conversation to have before they leave. If you're someone who needs your student to check in, every day, every other day, communicate that and, say, if I don't hear from you after 2 days, I'm calling the police, I'm calling DukeReach, and they probably don't want you to do that. So they'll check in, but make that arrangement ahead of time.
Wonderful. And Victoria, is there a way for families to get in contact with DukeReach? What's the best way?
The email is the best way, dukereach@duke.edu, because we all get copied on that, but I will put the email and the number in the chat.
And with that, all the questions are answered. So we will go ahead and wrap this webinar for this evening. Thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you to my colleague Shamice, who's in the background, also answering some questions. We are so happy that you spent your evening with us, and we hope that you learned a little bit more about how we're going to support your students on campus this year. This will be recorded. We'll put it up on our website here soon, so you can reference it in your own time. And let us know if you have any other follow-up questions. Feel free to email us at studentorientation@duke.edu. And we will, or family programs at duke.edu. And if we can't answer it, we'll get you connected to someone who can. So with that, we hope you have a great evening. Thank you, panelists, so much. And we hope everyone has a great night.